All right, guys, welcome back after that short advert break. Let's continue with our lesson. As indicated early on, we are focusing on banking, and now we'll be looking at some explanation as well as some examples. Okay, so I indicated here that a savings account is where money is withdrawn or deposited at any time without any notice, right? Bank charges, that's all the charges and the fees made by a bank to their customers. Also, transaction charges, it's a fee charged when an amount is either deposited or withdrawn. Okay? Other important language here is a credit balance. It shows that you have money in your account. It's normally indicated by a plus or positive sign. Then a debit balance shows that you owe the bank some money, and it's normally indicated by a negative or minus sign. Then also important is that a debit order, the service provider issues an instruction to your bank to make a payment to them. Okay? And then we also going to look now at how this all comes into play in reality. Okay? So first up, I have an example here that says, Mrs. Lily Ann Solomons is banking with Silver Coin Bank. Use the bank statement of Mrs. Solomons to answer the questions that follow. Right? Now, it's always a good idea to get familiar with what is in front of you, what is presented. So here we have all the details, all right, the address, the name of the client, then the name of the bank, as well as what type of account it is, the account number, the statement period. Then important is where we have our date, right, where we indicate after that what happens on that specific date. So whether it was a payment, whether it was a debit order, and so on. Then we have our amounts, and then very important is the balance, all right. So let's look at our first question. And now you will note that I started off with this straightforward level 1 questions. Okay, so the first question here says, what type of account is this? Now normally this level 1 questions you can read directly from the financial document in this case. So if you look, it says here it's an active save account. So therefore I will say this is a savings account. Okay, guess that's straightforward. Question number 2. What is the account number? Here we can see clearly account number. Now I'll write it down. That will be 405 8779 5821. That is the account number. All right, let's look at some other questions. I'm saying here, what do the words opening balance mean? Right, so if you look at opening balance, right, it's the amount of money, right, in the account. Right, so it's in the account at the last day of the previous month, right, of the previous month, as well as the same amount at the beginning of the new month. All right, so it's the money in the account at the last day of the previous month, as well as the same amount at the beginning of the new month. Okay, question number 4. What is the time period for this bank statement? Now we can see here the statement for period. That will be the 1st of February 2023 to the 28th of February 2023. I'll write it down. So that will be from the 1st of February 2023 to the last day of that specific month, which is the 28th of February 2023. Okay, I guess that's also quite straightforward. Let's move on to our next question. Question number 5. It says identify all the bank charges on this statement and calculate the total paid. Right now we have to look at this in detail. Okay, so all the bank charges, right? So the first one I note here is the 15 Rand for transaction charge, right? So I'm going to write it down. So that will be 15 Rand, right? And that's a transaction charge, right? Then also another transaction charge here of 6 Rand, right? And you see I'm identifying them, and then also I need to calculate the total paid. Right, let's move on. I see another one. There's a transaction fee here of 3 Rand as well. And then I see there's an admin fee of 14 Rand. Okay, so remember the question says identify, so we have to do two things here. Né? Identify and we have to calculate the total paid. Right, so how will I calculate the total? So I'll say 15 plus 6 plus 3 plus my 14. Right, so that will give me a total of 38 Rand. Guys, I hope that's clear to you. I've identified all the bank charges, and then I calculated the total paid in bank charges. Okay, let's look at another question. At question number 6, it says here, identify all the credit transactions, right? So this time it's all the credit transactions, and calculate the total credit transaction. Now, if I look at what is presented to me here, okay, I can only see one credit transaction, and it's this one here, right? Where there's a cash deposit by MB Consulting of 453 Rand and 45 cents. We agree? So it's the one here, right? So let's quickly go back. This is where we actually are. So that will be, it's a check deposit. So money was deposited into this account. All right, that's a check deposit, and then the amount here is 453 Rand and 45 cents. Guys, I guess that's also clear, right? No other credit transactions. Next question. Is the closing balance a debit or a credit balance? Now, if I look at the closing balance, right, here it's indicated closing balance. We see it's 1,454 Rand and 39 cents, right? So if I look at this, this will be a credit balance, right? Because it's still in a positive state, right? Okay, so it's a credit balance, meaning Mrs. Solomon still have money that belongs to her, okay? Then, moving on to our last question, question number 8. What is the difference between a debit and credit balance? Right, so let's do it like this. So when we look at the debit balance, that simply means that you owe the bank. Right, so you owe the bank some money. But when it is a credit balance, like we've seen in this case, that simply means that the money in that account is your money. You don't owe the bank, right? So that means it's your money. Okay, guys, let us quickly take a short break. After the break, we'll continue with more examples. See you now.